for the moms who raised us up, gave us hope, and made us strong. For the young moms who became moms sooner than expected and gave it all they had. For the single moms who had to figure out how to do this on their own. For those who never got called mom, but who cared for us all like a mom would. For the hurting moms who've loved and lost but never given up. For the praying moms who don't always know what to do, but always know who to talk to. For the working moms, the stay-home moms, the cooking moms, and the takeout moms. For taking care of us when you barely had enough time to take care of yourself. For teaching us how to walk and how to make a difference. For the late night snuggles and the early morning pancakes. For sitting with us after our first breakup. For lifting us up when others put us down. For the rides, the meals, the laundry, and the birthday parties. For the years, tears, laughter, and love. It's not enough, but we want to say thank you. Thank you for doing for us what we could never do for ourselves. We love you. We honor you. We remember you. We thank you.
So I want to wish all of you moms a happy Mother's Day today. And we appreciate all that you do to make our world a better place, our church a better place, and our homes a better place as well. And so we want to celebrate you. And this week we thought just to mix it up a little bit, we'd bring things out to the kitchen. And I thought I'd share just a few tips of things that my mom actually taught me about cooking. But as I thought about those this week, I struggled a little bit to come up with some things because it wasn't that my mom was a bad cook. It's just that she was a bad instructor. But anyhow, here's my tips from the kitchen from my mom, bless her memory. First of all, there are 4 main food groups. There is meat, there's vegetables, there's fruits, and there's desserts. And if you have to go with just one, make sure that you go with desserts. Secondly, everything is better with butter on it. Everything. Thirdly, if you can figure out how to work the microwave, you can basically keep yourself alive. And then number 4, when all else fails, head for the cereal cupboard. Now, some of you guys out there, you're a little better off than I am, and you do pretty well in the kitchen. It's not my thing. I would like to give myself a little bit of credit because I can cook a mean steak out on the grill. But it's not so much about what my mom taught me in the kitchen. It's more of what she taught me in life. And Mom was a good instructor when it came to some of those things. And in honor of her, and in honor of you, and in honor of Mother's Day, I want to share a few of those things that she taught me along the way in just a little bit. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and take it out to Chris and the worship team.
Good morning and happy Mother's Day. It is such a thrill for us to be with you on such a special day. Thank you for joining us. Now, one of the things that we as a worship team have had to deal with during this pandemic is a new way to bring worship to the church. And one of the things that we came up with was this idea of a worship lyric video where we would post the lyrics of the song and stitch all the pieces of the song together. A lot of people ask us, where does this music come from? Is it like a Christian karaoke track, or what's going on with it? Well, the process usually starts on Sunday or Monday when I lay down a recorded track of just my vocals and an acoustic guitar. And that gets sent to about 5 or 6 different people. And throughout the week, they'll take a look at the things that they're doing for their part of the song, and they'll record them and they'll send them back. So we're never in the same room at the same time. We call it oikos worship, which is oikos, Greek for house. And when all those tracks they come back to me, and I mix them together and make them sound as if they were recorded in the same room, as professional as they can be. And then I go through each individual track and make sure that there are no mistakes in them. I clean them up, edit them, and make sure that they all align and are in sync. Our band members are playing against a metronome, so they all lay down into a grid nice and easily, which is something new for our band to do, to play in tempo. So we take all these tracks and we combine them together, we master them, and then we create the video that plays behind it. It's a process that takes probably between 30 and 35 hours each week and uses about 100 man-hours combined. It's really quite an interesting and new way for us to learn how to do worship for you. But we are so thrilled and happy to do it because we believe that worship in the church is not something that needs to be put to the side. We hope that you enjoy them as well, and enjoy this one this morning. It's one of our favorites.
In the darkness we were waiting, without hope, without light, till from heaven you came running. There was mercy in your eyes to fulfill the law and prophets. To a virgin came the word from the throne of endless glory, to a cradle in the dirt. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of reveal the kingdom coming, and to reconcile the lost, to redeem the whole creation. You did not despise the cross, for even in your suffering you saw to the other side, knowing this was our salvation. Jesus, for our sake you died. Till that stone was moved for good, for the Lamb had conquered death, and the dead rose from their tombs, and the angels stood in awe, for the souls of all who'd come to the Father are restored. And the church of Christ was born, then the Spirit lit the flame. Now the skies the Lord shall not kneel, shall not fade. By his blood, in his name, in his freedom I am free. For the love of Jesus Christ, who has resurrected me. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise
Happy Mother's Day. It's a privilege to be able to read scripture with you today from Proverbs 31, verses 26 to 31. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her the reward she has earned, and let her works bring praise at the city gate. God bless, folks.
So earlier I mentioned my mom, and I mentioned some lessons that she taught me, and I'd like to share a few of those with you this morning and share a few stories about her as well. It's just a way to encourage all of us on this day to celebrate our moms. Before I do that, I just want to say this. My mom was a great mom, at least in my opinion, but she was not a perfect mom by any stretch of the imagination. She had her faults just like everybody else. She was incredibly indecisive. If she had to make any decision of any significance, it would take days before she could come to a conclusion. She was a very black and white person, and sometimes you could feel that. She also was pretty reserved and wasn't great at showing affection. In fact, she had this social distancing thing all figured out before social distancing was even a thing. Now, I knew that she loved me, but she was not very affectionate. And then the other thing is my mom played favorites, which was fine because I was the favorite, at least according to my brother and to my sister. And if that's the case, I would just simply say it's because my mom was a very discerning person. Actually, I think the truth of the matter was I gave my mom a whole lot less grief than my brother and my sister did. But either way, mom wasn't a perfect person, but she was a good person and she was a good mom. And she taught me some good things. But before I get to those things, I want to stop and look at some verses in the book of Proverbs. And Solomon was the author of Proverbs, and he wrote these sayings as instructions to his son. And so they come from a father to a son. I realize we're on Mother's Day today, but you can take it in the same vein and say these are the instructions of a parent to a child. And specifically the verse that we're going to look at, he's saying, hey, pay attention to what your mom has to say. So we're reading in Proverbs chapter 6, verse number 20, and it says this, my son, keep your father's command. That's what I'm saying. But do not forsake your mother's teaching. Bind them always on your heart. Fasten them around your neck. When you walk, they will guide you. When you sleep, they will watch over you. When you awake, they will speak to you. And as we look at the book of Proverbs, this is actually the third time that we see a statement like this already in the first 6 chapters. In chapter 1, Solomon said to his son, hey, my son, listen up here. I don't want you to run with the wrong crowd because that'll mess you up. In chapter 3, he says, hey, listen up here. You need to lean into God. I really want to encourage you spiritually. And when he gets to chapter 6, he's actually saying here, hey, listen to what I have to say here because I want to help you live a morally pure life. But the concepts that he throws out here are so helpful to us just in general on how to lean in to our parents' instruction. And so let me just share 3 things from this passage here this morning before we go any further. And let me finish then with just a few things that my mom taught me and some stories from her life. But listen closely to this. First of all, the premise, my son, keep your father's command and do not forsake your mother's teaching. Simply listen to your parents. Now, let's be honest. Our parents don't always get it right. My parents didn't always get it right. And to be honest, my kids' parents have not always gotten it right by any stretch of the imagination. But that doesn't really matter. The point is this. Parents want their kids to do well. Parents want their kids to succeed. Parents want their kids' lives to work out well. And so when they share, they're not sharing from perfection, but they're sharing from passion. And they're sharing from a heart that says, hey, I want it to go well with you. And so I'm not going to tell you something that I think will mess you up. I'm going to tell you something that I think will be helpful to you. And so we need to be encouraged, whether we're a child at home, a teenager, a young adult, whether we're middle-aged, to lean back and to listen in to what our parents are saying because they want to help us. And then he goes on and says, here's the instruction. The advice that we give you, the counsel that we give you, bind them always on your heart and fasten them around your neck. Internalize the things that we're telling you. Don't just listen and walk away. Listen and absorb. Listen and let it become a part of you, because we're trying to help you here. So internalize them, bind them always to your heart. But then he says this, fasten them around your neck. And this would have been a little bit of a Jewish custom to wear a necklace. But in that necklace, almost like a locket, you could put instruction or words or advice, and that would just be a reminder to you as you're going through the day. You could have that thing around your neck and take a look at it. And you see, take this with the truth that we're giving you. Put it around your neck. If we want to put it into modern day terminology, it would be carry this truth with you like you carry your phone. And you know how you keep pulling that out of your pocket multiple times during the day to take a look? Pull that truth out multiple times and take a look and be reminded of what this advice is and what this truth is. And the result then comes in verse number 22. And Solomon says this, when you walk, they will guide you. When you sleep, they'll watch over you. When you awake, they will speak to you. And he says the result will be that you'll experience guidance in your life. Life is a series of choices, isn't it? Which path am I going to take? Where am I going to go? What am I going to do about this? And he's saying, if you'll just listen in here, you'll have a GPS system that's already programmed to help you as you go through life. And so your parents' instructions provide guidance for you. Secondly, it provides protection. He talks about just being able to sleep because you know that you're safe. And I think all of us like to have a good night's sleep, but sometimes that comes because we've just made good choices and we've taken the right road and we've done the right thing. And then we can sit back and relax because we don't have to worry about how things are going to turn out. I've said to my kids so many times, you can't make bad choices and end up in good places. It's in the same idea here. When we make good choices, we end up in these places where we can take a deep breath and know that things are going to be okay because we did the right thing. And then thirdly, he says here, when you're awake, they'll speak with you. He's talking about wisdom and discernment. As we go through life, we need wisdom and we need discernment. And it's like these voices in our heads that say, well, here's what you should think about this, or here's what you should do about this, or here's how you should wrap your head around this, or here's a good perspective to take. And that's what the promise is here. If we will do what this verse says and listen to what our parents are teaching us. And so I want to take some of those things that my mom taught me and share them with you this morning. Because as a parent, I want to pass them on to my kids, but as a parent, I want to encourage you to maybe share these things with your kids. Whatever your role is, though, there are always people in life that you're influencing. And these would be 5 great ways that you can influence people as well. And so just simply here this morning, here's the first thing that my mom really taught me. It's this: live a real faith. And as a parent, live a real faith in front of your kids. And I've mentioned this already, but it's not a perfect faith. It's a real faith where we're all about our relationship with God. One of my biggest memories I have of my mom is getting up every single day when I was a kid. And mom always got up before me, but she wasn't in the kitchen fixing me breakfast. She was out in the living room and she was on her knees and praying. Her quiet time every morning was the most important part of her day. And I would see her there praying, and I knew who she was praying for. She was praying for me. She was praying for my brother, for my sister. And you know what? That had an impact on me. And that was something that meant a lot to me then, but even as a parent today, I want to be praying for my kids. She prayed for us. She was a spiritual leader to us. She was the one who actually led me to Christ. Bible stories before bed. We were reading about the crucifixion, and I felt conviction about sin for the first time in my life. And after a conversation with her, I knelt beside my bed that night and trusted Christ and invited him into my life. Mom was the one who was there for that. She would have verses on the fridge, and a lot of the artwork in the house had different verses, and her faith was just a huge thing to her. When Mom was sick and didn't have much time left, she knew that. And she called the family together and all of his kids. We were married by that time, and we all gathered in the family room, and I still remember that night, and she was so uncomfortable. And she kind of lay there on the couch, and she said, I wanted you all to come together because I wanted to tell you something. And the other thing that she wanted to tell us, she said, just live your life for Jesus. Give it everything you've got. And that was really the last thing that she told us. She had brain cancer and wasn't particularly coherent, but that's what she wanted us to get. And what a great life lesson, to live a real faith. A second lesson that she taught me was this: to do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing. There's a little bit of a story. It's a little bit of a joke that went with my mom. Every morning after she was done praying, she'd go out into the kitchen and she'd pour herself a glass of orange juice, and then she'd just set it on the counter. And she'd just leave it there on the counter, and we'd go through and eat our breakfast, get ready for school. And as we go out the door, it would still be sitting there. But by the time we got done, by the end of the day, it'd be gone. And I remember asking her about that orange juice one day. I'm like, Mom, what's with the deal with the orange juice? Why don't you just drink that? She said, I don't like orange juice. I'm like, what? She said, and when it's cold, I like it even less. But if I let it get to room temperature, I find it tolerable. And I'm like, well, why are you drinking orange juice then? She said, because I know that it's good for me. That was my mom. If she thought something was good for her, or good for us, or the right thing to do, she was going to do it. It didn't matter what anybody thought, what anybody said, how inconvenient it may have been for her. She was going to do the right thing. She had incredible integrity, incredible sense of responsibility. She was a person that you could depend on no matter what, because she would do the right thing. A third thing that my mom taught me was this: believe God for some big things. Now, my mom passed away when she was 59. And to me, that was pretty young. But when she was 42, she was told that she had 2 years to live. She had had cancer. She'd had several surgeries. And after the last surgery, the doctor just said, there's really nothing more that we can do for you. Maybe if you're lucky, you're going to get 2 years to live here. Well, I was 12 at the time. My sister was 10. She had this family at home. And she decided that she was going to pray for healing and that God would heal her because she believed that he could. And my dad was involved in this, and this was before the internet and all of the ways that we have a communication. But they hopped on the phone and called every single person that they could think of around the world and said, hey, would you pray for God to heal me of cancer? And it was crazy, but about 2 months later, she went in for the next checkup, and they took an x-ray, and she came home, and I still remember that night because the phone rang, and it was the doctor calling. Well, doctors don't call patients, right? Especially the first day. But the doctor was calling and said, Mrs. Wood, we don't really know how to explain this, but we can't find any trace of cancer in the scans that we just did. And she lived for another 17 years, really cancer-free. Now, at the end, she ended up with that cancer metastasizing to her brain. But she got 17 years out of a 2-year pronouncement. And I think the biggest reason was because she believed God for such big things. Another thing she believed God for was that the church where we were in South Bend was in this horrible building in this horrible location. And we really needed to sell the building and to move somehow. And she prayed and prayed and prayed about that thing. But one of the last things that she did before she passed away is she went out to that new church building that had just been built, and she got to be there for the first service. But again, it was one of these ways that she just trusted God for big things. A fourth thing about my mom, a lesson that she taught me, was simply this: always be about the underdog. And she was big about this. I remember she was always the one who taught the Sunday school class for the women whose husbands didn't come or were single moms. And she was always concerned that they were taken care of as well as possible. But she passed that on to us kids even. I was always required to play with kids that nobody else played with because that was the right thing to do. And I would invite them over to my house whether I wanted to or not. And I remember, it's probably been 10 years ago or so, when I was sitting at a getting ready to watch a play. And a guy sat down behind me and he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "Hey, my name is," and he gave me his name. He says, "You probably don't remember me." And I'm like, I don't know. He says, "We were in junior high together." And it took me back like 25 years. And he says, "We were in junior high together." He says, "You know what I remember about you? You were the only kid who wasn't mean to me." I was so glad that day that my mom was all about the underdog. And what a great lesson and what a great truth to pass on to our kids. To be about the marginalized, to be about the person that nobody else is paying attention to, and to be the champion of that person. Well, there's one more lesson that I want to share with you this morning, and it's simply this. My mom taught this not by anything that she said, but just by the way that she lived, and it's simply this. Don't be about yourself. Don't be about yourself. I don't think I ever heard my mom complain about anything. Even when she was sick and in so much pain and discomfort, never complained. She was the person who always got second choice because she'd always let somebody else choose. I don't think my mom ever ate the last piece of dessert as much as she was about desserts because she was always giving it away to the other person. She was happy to do without if you could have something. And she honestly was the most selfless person I know. And another great lesson that she taught me. Now, I haven't learned any of these lessons perfectly, and I'm still trying to get my head around that and trying to get my life around it in so many ways. But I'm so grateful for my mom, and I'm so grateful for the things that she's taught me. And I hope, and hopefully in small ways, but even in big ways, that I've been able to pass these lessons on to my kids as well. But the reason that I share them this morning is not so that we can cheer for my mom. Not at all. I share them this morning because my mom was just a common, normal, average, everyday person who had a huge impact on my life and on my brother and sister's life and the lives of people around her, not because she was special, but because she lived in special ways. And I want that to be an encouragement to all of us, whether you're a mom this morning or whether you're a child, whether you're a dad, whatever role you play, how can you be teaching lessons to others that will help guide them, that will help keep them safe, that will help give them wisdom for life? And so let me just ask as we finish this morning, first of all, what are the things that you've learned from your mom? Take a minute. Think about that, because I'm sure that she's taught you some life lessons that you can lean into this morning. Secondly, maybe it would be a nice time to express thanks to her, not just in general terms, thanks for being such a great mom, but in specific terms to say, hey, Mom, thanks for teaching me. Thanks for being such a great example. Thanks for showing me this. Pick some specific things to share with her today. And then I would ask you this, how much is that lesson or those lessons that she taught you, how much is it impacting and influencing your life? And maybe this morning is a good time to step back and say, you know what? I've gotten away a little bit from some of the things that were so important that my mom taught me, that were just good rules and principles to live by. And then the last question is simply this. What are the lessons that you're teaching the people who are watching you? Would you pray with me this morning? Heavenly Father, what a great day it is when we get to celebrate the gift of Mom. And I realize that not everybody has a great story when it comes to mothers, and even great stories when it comes to kids. And so today I specifically ask you, to bring grace and peace into those stories where there is some disruption or turbulence or friction. I pray that maybe even healing can be a part of the story today. But God, I do thank you for those times and for those of us who've had great experience and learned some of these lessons from our mom. Thanks for using them to teach us. But I pray that you encourage us to go out and to impact the people around us. Not so much by what we say, but by how we live. And I pray that we would live out a real faith in front of our families, in front of our kids, even in front of our parents, in front of our neighbors, in front of our coworkers. I pray that we would be the people that you want us to be. And we pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.